and we say, this is who I am. But in reality, I'm not that. That's why Jesus said, what did he say? I come to seek and save that which was lost. What was lost? Notice that he didn't say that. Then he says, you look at it, he says, that which was lost. What was lost? Their position, their identity, their dominion, their authority, their destiny. That was lost.
Yeah.
That was lost when man said no to God and said, we're going to do it this way. And now he's saying, I come back to restore that. The original state that man was with God at the beginning. It was lost. We make it all kinds of different things. It's lost. That's where there you go back to this prosperity messages that you have mansions. You got, all this stuff. And so we're thinking, wait a minute, we're kind of confused. But there you go with the different belief systems. But when I do that, I've created something, this image, but guess what? It's opposite of the image of God. It's not like the image of God. It's my own thoughts, plus thoughts of others, belief system of my own self and of others. I present it and say this is who I am, but in reality, it's not, because we were originally ordained and sanctioned and called after the image of God. We were made that way, but it was lost. And so now I'm coming up with another image. To be, to do, to have position, to have power, to have these things, to gain life, to maintain life, all these things. But in reality, that's why for years, when I was growing up, I could honestly say, I didn't know who I was or what I was, because I was always trying to be, I was either trying to be what my neighborhood was calling me to be, I was either trying to be what my dad was trying to call me to be, or not to be. I was going to school and all these different things, and at times, that's why you'll deal with people even at the age of 40, 50, and they're like, I feel out of sorts. That's why you'll have people who live together for years, married together for years, and they'll look at each other and say, I don't really know you. Because we've always presented ourselves as this. But that wasn't really who we are. And so there you go, we have created an image. And can I say it's an image that is marked by its man's number. It's a beast. When they talk about in the Revelation, the book of Revelation, and elsewhere in the book of Titus, or Jude, I think it's Titus, when they describe these people who are without God, or people who have presented you an image, they say these people are beasts. And when they say that, they're talking about a thought life, a belief system that's without God. And so they become, we're seeing it. We're seeing how people nowadays, you're seeing the results of men, women, children, politicians, government, nations, kings and kingdoms. They're beasts. They live like mere beasts. We have that one dictator out there in Saudi Arabia. There's a couple of them. They just kill those people. Some people love them to death. You're the greatest thing. And some people say, no, we want another leader. He says, okay, well, if you want another leader, then you're going to have to die. So they basically kill. But you're seeing on the streets of Casa Grande, you're seeing on the streets of other foreign countries, you're seeing the results of people living without God. They become mere beasts. They're no better than a cat that would just, think of how a cat or a dog lives. They just live. They're not really, they're beasts. And so they create this image, but this image is an opposite, and in place of God's image, our original image and likeness. An image is, now listen, is a likeness or imitation of a person or thing. It has within it the thoughts and ideas and concepts of what it is and who it is. It represents itself. It is a representation of what it is patterned after. going back to what I was saying earlier about the book of Revelation, that there's this beast and there's this beast and it has man's number, and the man's number is what? 666. And that number is symbolic of fallen man falling short of a perfect number, which is 7. That's why when you look in the book, the Bible, you'll see a lot of times when it talks about 7 this. How many times would I forgive my brother 70? He says, I say 7 times 70. But that was the mark. That they understood that number. The number to them. Again, we're speaking of people, Hebrews and Jews who had different ideas of religious thought, and that number to them, 7, was a perfect number, and it was one of the numbers of God that represented a perfect God. So 666, all that is a number. The reason why they say 666 is because, again, you'll see how in the Old Testament they would talk about God, and what would they say? They'd say, Jim, holy, holy, holy. It was re-emphasizing the fact. It was saying something that I am repeating. This is what do I? You'll hear me say this a lot. What does a good teacher do? He repeats himself at least 3 times. So when we look at the number 666, we're thinking, okay, it's 666. No, he's saying 6. Listen, 6. Hear this. 6 is a number that has fallen short of God's complete wholeness. It's a number short of 7. It's one less than 7. And that's the image we presented. I presented myself for years an image that was what? An image that was in opposition of God, and an image that was in God's place. Because in reality, I was created, and my first placement, or mankind's first placement, it was in what? In the identity of God. It was in His likeness. It was in His image. Just like I said, every time we present ourselves, I said we don't realize it, but sometimes we dress up to present an image. We have a job, and we fight for that job, and we struggle for that job. Why? Because it's giving me an image, of position, of influence. That's why we will see what Jesus was talking about as all the people that were following Him. He would say, well, what did He tell that one person? The rich young ruler, give up everything you have, sell it to the poor, and follow me. He's like, I can't do that. Why? Because his image would be destroyed. He would have to forsake the image that he built. He even claimed to be a very religious, remember? Oh, what must I do? Remember he asked Jesus, what must I do to gain life? To gain salvation, to be a citizen of the kingdom. He says, well, do these things. He says, you know the law, so what do they say? And the boy, he knew it. He's very proud, and, well, yes, this is what it says. He says, well, he goes, I've done them. And he says, well, you're lacking one thing. Because he's allowed to put, again, in that image that he built, he used wealth to what? Create a position, to create identity, to create fulfillment. We think about whether you're rich or you don't have nothing, or like my case when I was going through what I did, I didn't have nothing, but guess what? I used a whole lot of drugs, and I used a life of crime because what was it doing to me? It was creating an image of power, of influence, of identity, of fulfillment. And so, don't think just because when you look at somebody with a big house, and now I'm not saying that it's not nice to have, but even one with an air conditioning would be nice about now, I don't know. But you see how these people use these things, and they use it to create an image. Remember they used to say, man, that's old Joe and so, Joe and so, he's Joe Smith, he's trying to keep up with the Joneses. Trying to keep up an image. People can look at me and say, it must be good, it must be right. But yet, if that man or woman was without God, doesn't mean a hell of nothing, doesn't mean a hell of beans. So man can be a representation which includes thoughts, ideas, and concepts of God. Or man can, present himself. Be a representation of that fallen nature. Just duplicating it again and again and again. I'm just leaving it out. That fallen nature is again the character that's fallen from God and it's fallen short of the perfection of God. That's what the fallen nature is. And again, we have made it to be now not that those things aren't bad and they can create destruction and panic and turmoil and grief. The lifestyle that I lived in, all that what I did and what I went through with drugs and everything else, it creates damage. But the evil of it is that I was trying to live a life without God, apart from God. You must learn to be a disciple of this image of God, learning to simulate the character and nature of God, which he learns from. He lives it out. Because we've been granted that. Now listen, when I'm born again, you're back in that position that we had at the beginning in Christ, or in God, with God, but we got there back to it, we're restored back to it because of the cross of Jesus Christ and what his obedience. We're back in that position. Now I'm conscious of that life. And now he's saying, live it out. Live out which I created you to be, what I created you to be, and that is image, and it is an image and character that is patterned after who I am. So you're going to be the ultimate expression of love, the kindness, the goodness, the faithfulness, the righteousness, the forgiveness. But again, if we fall short of it, thank goodness for the grace of God. But that's what we're to be patterned after. That's what we're to show to an earth or people that don't know it. And actually, some of them don't even have nothing to do with it. So he's learning the reason is Christ is. Remember what Paul said: "Follow me as I follow after Christ." If you're going to pattern your life after me, in other words, only do so when you see me imitating Christ, or patterning my life after Christ. That's the one thing, like I said, the greatest. When I pray, that's my biggest prayer is that I want people to see Christ in me, not for any other reason but this. Because that's the only life that is true, that is right, that is good, that is perfect.